I was born and raised in the South, in a very historic location that was a major battle site during the Civil War, called Vicksburg, Mississippi. My town is known for ghostly sightings, as many people died here in battle or due to the Union blockade of the Mississippi River. While I personally have never seen a ghost myself, I have felt their presence. One famous place to go in Vicksburg is the McRaven House, which is ranked among the 100 most haunted places in America. I'd never been there before, even though I'd lived here for my entire life, but the paranormal had always intrigued me. So one day, my best friend Ray and I decided to pay for a tour of the house. I'd like to say here that I felt perfectly fine before Ray and I entered that house, but as the tour progressed, I began to feel sicker and sicker. With each room we passed through, I began to lean against Ray more and more for support and comfort. I was beginning to feel short of breath and ready to pass out. We went up a flight of stairs which led to a small hallway where some personal items from the Civil War era were stored. I listened as best I could as the lady conducting the tour pointed to things and explained a little bit about them. She showed us a small carriage made for a little girl's doll and explained how they would put it up at night, only to find it in another room entirely the next morning. Then she pointed out an old medical stretcher. It still had the bloodstains on it from when McRaven was used as a makeshift medical hospital during the Civil War. And then she told us of a story about a little boy who had passed out on the spot directly where my friend was during a previous tour. By that point, I could barely stand up on my own. I was putting most of my weight on Ray, so I could imagine how that little boy must have felt. I knew I had to get out of that house, although I felt bad about not being able to finish the tour. I told Ray that we had to go, because honestly, I felt like if I stayed there any longer, I was going to vomit. She could see that something was really wrong with me, so she hastily helped me out of the house and back to my car. I sat in the car for about 5 minutes before I slowly began to feel better. 10 more minutes later and my symptoms were gone entirely. I no longer felt sick to my stomach and I could breathe just fine. Although I never saw anything, something sinister was definitely affecting my body that day. That was unlike any sickness or nausea I'd ever felt, and I will never go back in that house. But that is not the only creepy thing to happen to me. In Vicksburg, there is also a relatively large military park full of Civil War monuments and many unmarked graves of both Union and Confederate soldiers. At the time of this second incident, I was working at a local Chinese restaurant. I usually worked the night shift and would get off work around 10, then head home. The route I would take to my house passed directly by the military park, as it was the fastest way home. One night while driving home, I was on the phone with my mother when my phone suddenly dropped the call. At first, this didn't bother me too much, as the area I was passing by had a lot of hills and very little, if any, cell phone service, so I knew the phone would probably drop the call sometime. However, instead of hearing silence on my way there, I heard something else. Someone else. It sounded like several garbled voices speaking all at once, but I could not understand what they were saying. It didn't sound human really, but it didn't sound mechanical either. I had no idea what I was hearing. It freaked me out, so I decided to cut my phone off completely, thinking that that would make it stop. But even with my phone shut off, the voices grew louder. All of this happened as I was driving by the unmarked graves of the military park that you could see from the road to my house. I told my grandparents about what happened. My grandmother laughed at me, saying jokingly that it may have been aliens, but my grandfather, on the other hand, looked serious and said that because we have Native American blood flowing through our veins, he believes we are more connected to the spiritual world, and that what I heard was the mumbling sound of the voices of those who died in the Civil War. This didn't make me feel any better. I began to take a different route after that experience.